All right, and welcome to Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler. We are coming to you now from the Atlantic City City Hall. I am here with the City Council Vice President, Mr. Kaleem Shabazz. How are you, sir?
Good, very good, Brother Tyler.
So, you're the Vice President of City Council. Which is your ward?
Third Ward.
Third Ward.
Third Ward in Atlantic City. Yes, sir.
Okay, and how long have you been serving on City Council now?
I was just fortunate enough, and I thank all my constituents. I thank all the people who voted for me. I thank the people who didn't even vote for me. All those people who participated in the election. Just got sworn into my third term January 1st of last month, really. Last month. Going to my third term.
So how many years have you been working in political office, though?
Okay, going into my 9th year as an elected official.
9th year as elected.
Because each of our terms on City Council is 4 years.
Okay.
So I just completed my, just got elected to my third term. If I'm fortunate, God willing, to complete this term, it'll be 12 years in total. But as of now, I'm going into have served 8 years on City Council.
Great, great, great. Okay, so here we are. We're on Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler, and I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us.
Right.
One of the first questions we always ask is, what does the City Council Vice President for Atlantic City do? What does the Third Ward Council person do? What is your job?
That's a good question. And thank you so much, first of all, for having me on your show. I appreciate it. Civic engagement, the topic is important, and the activity of civic engagement is important. The council vice president is very similar to the vice president at the national level. You fill in when the council president is not available for whatever reason. You do whatever administrative duties that you assign. Administrative duties, preparing helping prepare the council agenda, working with the council president in conjunction with the administration on budget issues, policy issues, community issues. And as the Third Ward council person, which I am the representative of the Third Ward, which is from Tennessee to Georgia Avenue, from the Boardwalk to Emerson Avenue, basically takes in much of the business district, a couple of casinos. That's what constitutes the Third Ward. Of course, single-family homes, public housing, Stanley Homes, senior citizen buildings, Elliott House, and 233. That's basically the composition of the Third Ward. 2 schools, MLK School and New York Avenue School, all in the Third Ward, and of course numerous businesses. So a council person has, and I'm glad you asked that because sometimes people get confused. The council is one of the 3 levels of government that we have in the municipality.
Okay.
In fact, that's really the American system of government is based on 3 levels of government. Okay. What do I mean? At the federal level, you have the president, obviously. That's the executive level.
Right.
Then you have, at the federal level, you have the U.S. Congress and the U.S. House of Representatives. That's the legislative level. And then you have the court system, the Supreme Court, and federal level courts. That's the judicial issue. Right. Judicial level, I'm sorry.
Right.
And we have the same thing at the state level.
Okay.
And we have the same thing at the city level. We have the mayor and the executive office.
Okay.
Then you have the legislative office. Then you have municipal courts for municipal matters. So the council is a legislative body, a presiding body for the city of Atlantic City.
Okay.
The council makes laws. The council makes ordinances and resolutions. The council oversees the budget and approves the budget. The council gives advice and consent on mayor's appointments. The council in Atlantic City is the redevelopment entity, means we are charged with helping ensure that redevelopment occurs, that development occurs. The council in the individual wards represent the concerns of the people who are in their ward. And just because you're a ward council person, that doesn't mean that you don't vote on citywide issues, because we do. Even though the ward council people are elected from the people of their ward, they still, as every other council person does, votes on citywide issues. And then we have, obviously, the large council people, they represent people across the city. So my job is to be an advocate for people in the third ward, to be a listening post for people in the third ward, and make sure they get the information they need to have a higher quality of life, and to put forth laws and proposals that will help move the third ward forward. And also oversight. We have oversight of the administration, as every legislative body in the state level. The state senate and the state assembly has oversight over the executive branch. In the federal level, the Congress and the House of Representatives are supposed to have oversight on the president. Obviously, they go a little stray sometimes on partisan political issues, but that's the job of someone who is a legislator. He or she, their job is to give direction to the administration through laws, through ordinances, which are laws, and resolutions, which are the sense of the governing body, and also they can be law depending on what the issue is. That's what we are charged to do.
Okay.
It's a long answer, but you got me started.
If you're just tuning in, this is Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler. My guest is Kaleem Shabazz. I apologize for this next question.
Go ahead.
We don't do hit jobs. You never known me to do hit jobs.
Absolutely not.
As a responsible journalist, I have to mention in some local media, they've been giving you and city council some bad hits regarding Stanley Holmes. So I'm asking you to speak to my listeners, my viewers, about what's happening in Stanley Holmes in your own words.
I'm glad you said it like that. My mother, God bless her soul, once told me, she said, son, if you're going to be in public life, you have to put your feelings on the bottom of your feet and walk on them. In other words, if you are elected official, you can't be thin-skinned, you can't be hypersensitive, you can't get unduly concerned by what people say. It doesn't mean you're not concerned with people's condition, but if every time someone says something that is not pleasant and you get out of sorts, then you're in the wrong business, because that's what public life is. Public life, dealing with the public and trying to help them. So I don't take things personally. People say, what they say, and that's their right in America. In fact, I defend people's right to say what they say and how they feel. I would just suggest that our parameters should be civility and respect for each other, and we can disagree and agree to disagree. Stanley Holmes, well, Tyler, is something that has vexed me since I've been in office, and I take responsibility for what the city can take responsibility for. What do I mean by that? Stanley Holmes is part of the federal system of public housing all over the country. You travel, you know people across the country. There are public housing entities just about in every city in America, or in many cities.
Right.
And they are all under the Office of HUD, which is Housing and Urban Development. Yes. All of them. Yes. There's not a public housing entity in this country that is not under the direct supervision and authority of HUD, Housing and Urban Development. What does that mean? That means that ultimately the people who have the responsibility for Stanley Holmes, Altman Terrace, all the public housing we have in Atlantic City is HUD. Having said that, as an elected official, I'll speak for what I've done. Now, I wish I had, I'll give it to you. I have an envelope of materials that tall as to what I've done to speak to Stanley. I've held hearings. I am the only public official that has got a rent credit for Stanley, and you can check it. Now everything is public record, and you can Google it. I said that because Stanley Home residents were without heat and hot water for extended periods of time, that they should get a rent credit. I went to the housing authority and said that. So just last year, and it happened. I have, in fact, I got a letter that was just published in the press February 24th, saying that for 2024, my goals were to put a spotlight on what's happening in Stanley, because Stanley is the only public housing entity in my district. There are other public housing entities, but not in my district. I'm concerned about them, but I'm particularly concerned about Stanley, because Stanley is the largest. Stanley has 424 units. So here's the sad part about Brother Tyler. A lot of people who talk about Stanley Homes are talking about it, not, I shouldn't say a lot, some people who are making comments about Stanley, and anybody can, this is America, they're making comments for political gain. They're making comments to smack the mayor. They're making comments to try to undercut whatever they think is going on. But here's my point. Stanley Homes is a long-standing product of mismanagement, underfunding, lack of support, lack of training for our residents, and it's going to take a while to straighten it out. And anybody who says other than that is not telling the truth. And anybody who says that they have a better solution than what's presently been held, not perfect, they should come forward with it. And a solution is not saying that people are not doing anything. That's not a solution. That's a comment. You have a right to make that comment, but that's not a solution. That's not an alternative to people who are living in conditions that are intolerable. And so what's my point? My point is that we have to have an effort to make Stanley Homes better, and that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what my efforts have been to do. And if people have solutions, I think they should step forward and say, I think that this should be done to help Stanley Homes, or I think that this should be done to help public housing. And there are some things we do, and when we talk about elections at the federal level, because that's what is causing some of the problems at Stanley Homes, public policy. Okay. And public policy for public housing is made at the federal level. And I think, you know what people I think get confused? When you say Atlantic City Housing Authority. It is Atlantic City Housing Authority, but the regulation is not within the hands of Atlantic City elected officials. And I think that's what sometimes people might get confused. Okay. Because it is Atlantic City Housing Authority. We do make some of the appointments to the people who are on the board, but the funding doesn't come from the Atlantic City government. The policy doesn't come from Atlantic City government, and the governance of how public housing is operated on a daily basis doesn't come from the Atlantic City government. And people should be clear about that. And I'll say this. Also with public housing, if you look at Newark, New York, Philadelphia, Trenton, East Orange, I defy you to find public housing that's in good shape. And I know people in all those cities, and I can tell you it's a problem everywhere. And what am I saying? Does that mean that it lessens the impact of what happens in Atlantic City? No. I'm saying it is a systemic concern about public housing problems and issues all over this country. That's a long answer, but that's what I'm sticking with that.
I wanted to give you an opportunity to address our viewers, our listeners, in your own words on a, to say the least, what is a hot button issue right now. So it's never my job to, or
but you know what? It shouldn't be an issue.
It's never my intent to put words into another person's mouth.
Right.
And so I wanted to give you an opportunity to address it
and
yourself.
I appreciate it. And I would just say this. I don't think Stanley Homes should be an issue. I think Stanley Homes should be a unified concern of people in Atlantic City to make it better. And I think too many people, not everybody, a lot of people are sincere, but there are people who are taking it for an issue and jumping on it, not to move it forward, but to maybe cast blame maybe point fingers, and none of that does my constituents any good. What Stanley Holmes needs is more accountability, and I've called for that. I've called for a slash in the executive salary if we can't do better. I was just at the last Housing Authority Board meeting suggesting that they have a structure that gives him, the executive, more responsibility and more ability to move forward with the procurement, which seems to be a problem.
Okay.
And they did do that.
Okay.
And I plan, a guy willing to go to the March meeting to see where we make, what progress we make.
Okay. I was under the impression city council was a part-time job.
It says it's part-time, but if you do it correctly, it's way more than part-time.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening, you're watching Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler. My special guest right now is Kaleem Shabazz, a 3rd Ward councilperson and president of the Atlantic City Council.
Atlantic City NAACP.
Well,
Vice President City Council.
Yeah, okay, I apologize.
No problem.
You mentioned that your constituents include casinos, businesses, and residents.
Right.
Homeowners and people who rent.
Right.
How hard is it to juggle all those hats?
Well, not really hard. I would say it's more a good challenge.
Okay.
A good challenge. What do I mean by that? Basically, Brother Tyler, the homeowner, the renter,
Right.
the business person,
Right.
all have basically the same goals. What do I mean by that? Everybody wants a safe environment. I don't know anybody who doesn't want a safe environment.
Right.
Everybody wants a clean environment. Everyone wants a government that is responsive and efficient. Everyone, if they have school-age children, they want good schools. And if they don't have school-age children and they are concerned about the future, they still want good schools.
Yes.
Because we need to have people coming behind us who are well-trained and qualified to participate in the society. So I think there's much more agreement than there is disagreement about what we have to do. I was talking to a business person. I want to identify them, and I want to identify where they work. I want to identify the agenda because we had a pretty candid conversation, and we were talking about the road diet.
Okay.
And as you know, some of the casinos have taken the city to court about the road diet, and they're a little concerned. I said...
Could you explain what you mean by that?
The road diet is an effort that the Atlantic City government made to improve traffic on Atlantic Avenue.
Right.
And the reason that we did it is because Atlantic Avenue was deemed one of the most dangerous streets in New Jersey. Was deemed by who, Councilman Shabazz? By the Federal Department of Transportation and by the State Department of Transportation. It was deemed a very dangerous street because of the level of accidents and deaths on Atlantic Avenue. You can remember Jill Collette, who we all knew, got killed crossing the street on Atlantic Avenue. So the road diet is a result of that. And here's something that I'm glad you give me an opportunity to talk about. Some people say that the road diet was implemented without any public input. And I just want to say that that's not true. I don't think that people are saying that to not be accurate. I think they're either saying it because they might have forgotten or they don't know. But because you don't know something doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means you don't know. Why do I say that? Because we had more than 6 public meetings around the road diet. How do you know that, Councilman Shabazz? Because several of them I set up myself.
Okay.
I set up a meeting for the 3rd and 4th Ward at Martin Luther King School, attended by State Department of Transportation, Federal Department of Transportation, and our city engineer, and over 200 residents. I set up another meeting, and I hate to say I, but it's the only way I can describe it, that's what happened. I set up a meeting in the Uptown complex for the 1st and 2nd Ward, attended by the same professionals. I set up a meeting at Stockton for the 5th and 6th Ward, set up by attended by the same professionals. I had a meeting in City Hall with the former director of planning. We called it Noonday Talks, attended by the same professionals. We were on radio talking about the road diet. And I say that to say that all of these issues was talking about the road diet. Now, if people didn't attend, that's their right, not to attend, but they can't say that those things didn't happen. And of course, all this is documented. You know about government funding. If you have government funding, you have to have a record of your outreach.
Right.
You have to have a record of your meetings,
Right.
who attended,
Right.
what time, and the place.
Right.
And all that is in the public record. So to say that there was no public input or inspection or time for observation for the road diet is just not true. And again, I don't take it personally. I don't think people are trying to malign my character or the city. But they feel passionately about it. But at some point, some base level, we have to have actual facts
Right.
of what happened. And we can say, well, maybe it wasn't advertised correctly. That may be. Or maybe someone was on vacation or whatever. That could be. But just to state that there was not copious public input is not accurate. There was, and like I think it was the city engineer said at my Clean and Safe meetings about 6 months ago, that if the road diet and the realignment of the lanes proves unworkable, we can always reverse it.
Again, if you're just tuning in, this is Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler. My guest, the one and only Kaleem Shabazz, 3rd Ward Councilman. Since you've been elected to office, you said you served a total of 9 years now.
Yes. Well, this year will be the 9th
It
year.
will be the 9th year.
Right.
Okay, so I better ask you both these questions
Okay.
at one time. How did the city look, or how has the city changed since year 1? And projecting to, God willing, year 12, the end of your current term, what do you see for the city?
Well, you asked some hard questions, bro. I think we made some progress. Is it perfect? No, but I think we're making steady progress. I know when I first took office, Browns Park across from ACCC in Atlantic City was what they call a needle park. What do I mean by needle park? I mean the people were actually using drugs in the park. I'll never forget, I did an interview much like this. It started in my office. I hadn't been in office a couple of months. And the camera person was filming me, and we walked down to Browns Park, out the back door, down Arctic Avenue. Browns Park's only a couple blocks. And when we got to the park, there was a circle of men. And this gentleman went into his pocket and pulled out a blue piece of plastic, maybe about that long, wrapped it around his arm, and was getting ready to actually inject drugs into his arm. And I walked over to him and said, man, you can't do that. He got up and ran away. And after he left, a couple other guys came who I knew. They said, yeah, Councilman, this is what they do here. And I saw these little orange caps. And I said, what is that? That's the caps that they keep the needle in before they inject drugs.
Okay.
And then a little later, maybe a couple months later or less, the infamous picture of that guy who had a sock and knocked the lady out, it went viral. That was in Browns Park.
Okay.
That was in Browns Park, and that was about maybe 6 years ago. It was in my first term, but that went viral. This guy, because people would hang out in the park, this guy took and knocked the lady out. So I said right then that I needed to put on my agenda to make Browns Park better, and to make it really a park, because it wasn't, like I said, it was like a shooting gallery.
Right.
It was a hangout, a swing out. People drank and did all that. So I went to work to try to get funds to renovate it, to upgrade it. Again, like I said, to make it a park. And the result, if you go to Browns Park right now, you'll see playground equipment, you'll see fencing, you'll see a stage, and if you look at the Department of Recreation and see the kind of events that they have in Browns Park, it is really a park. Atlantic Care has had several events there. Chicken Bone Beach has had jazz there. The Police Athletic League has had summer camp there. People have had weddings there. There's been revivals there. There's been poetry readings there. We meaning myself as the third ward council person and the police have cookouts there. I have my Memorial Day program there for the veterans every year.
Yes.
So what am I saying? That it went from a needle park to a real park. You can go there now and sit down and read the paper if you want to, whatever you want to do. People exercise there. Kids actually play on the toys, not the toys, playground material.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. I'm hoping that before my term ends, that we will have some kind of either a supermarket extension at Renaissance or a supermarket. That has been really a vexing problem for me, and not only me, the governor, the Senate president, the Speaker of the Assembly, the head of CRDA, the mayor, the assembly person, every elected officials on down the line. We were at the groundbreaking 2 years ago for ShopRite, which never came. So again, I don't take it personally, but I do feel strongly that we need a supermarket, and I feel frustrated that it hasn't happened. But it didn't happen, and it hasn't happened because of any lack of trying on my part as the elected official in that area, and really other people too. A lot of people have been working on that. So that's something that I hope to say, just like the park, that we went from having no supermarket to a supermarket before my term is over. Indiana Avenue is another place. I have been focusing on Indiana Avenue to make that a demonstration project. Brother Tyler, you're too young to know about this, but maybe some of your listeners in my age category remember. There was a program called Model Cities a while ago, and Model Cities program, they had and the poverty program, the anti-poverty program under Lyndon Johnson, they had a thing called demonstration project. And what a demonstration project is when you isolate an area and you try to pump resources in it, and you use that to show what can be done on a broader scale. I'm trying to do that on Indiana Avenue, the 700 block, particularly of Indiana Avenue, as a demonstration project. Demonstration to show what, Councilman Shabazz? Demonstration to show what kind of neighborhood development we can have. We have plenty of casino growth. We have uptown, $100 million water park that my good friend Bart Blackstein is produced and has opened, and hope he does great. That's a family venue for the city, but we need more neighborhood development. So I'm working, number one, to rehab a Weeks Park, which is named, speaking of African American History Month, Mr. George Weeks Sr., who was an entrepreneur, who was a business person, who was a philanthropist and a civic leader. He was a gentleman who had a business on Atlantic Avenue during the time of segregation, when there was no businesses of people of color on Atlantic Avenue. Business people of color was back Arctic and Baltic Avenue going back. But Mr. Weeks had a cab stand and a garage, not a garage, a gas station, I'm sorry. A gas station and a cab stand. Very prominent business person in Atlantic City, and he was so involved in the city that they named Weeks Park for him, and that was in the he passed away, I think, in the mid to late 70s, and the park was dedicated to him. The only part about it is the city didn't upkeep it, so it fell into disrepair, and that's on Indiana Avenue, and I have been fortunate to secure a little more than $1.5 million to refurbish that park. You'll be seeing that very shortly. And also, right next to that is the Chicken Bone Institute. I can't say that I developed that. That's Henrietta Shelton's working on that almost 30 years and involved in having jazz concerts on the boardwalk, and now teaching youngsters how to play piano, drums, and other instruments in that Jazz Institute. That's going to be part of our renaissance of that block. We have a mural that takes up a side of their building meaning the Chicken Bone Beach building. We have a parking lot that we developed across the street from the Chicken Bone building. We're going to have enhanced lighting, and we have a couple of houses that we're going to have built for that people can purchase. So what is my end product, hopefully, on that 700 block? I hope to have this time next year the park rehabbing completed, the park lot's already done, the 2 houses completed and sold, and improved lighting. And then from there, we're going to branch out up the street, hopefully in the next 90 to 120 days on Indiana Avenue, is Pop Lloyd Stadium. Pop Lloyd, obviously, the Hall of Fame baseball player from Negro Leagues and lived in and worked in Atlantic City. That's going to undergo about a $4 million rehab, and hats off to Mayor Small for his leadership there and his administration. Right next to Pop Lloyd is MLK School, Martin Luther King Jr. School Complex, and we have about a $500,000 renovation there, new basketball courts, new lights, new bleachers, and starting probably this April or May, we're going to have plants up and down the street donated by Atlantic Care Foundation. So that's one thing I'm trying to do to uplift the area. And then the work we're doing in Stanley Homes, hopefully that's going to pay off, and Stanley Homes will be better. And also the NCO program. NCO is the Neighborhood Coordination Officers. One of the things that I have been pushing for several years is having a second shift. The first shift for the NCO officers is like, I think they're 8 to 4 or something like that. But we know that in communities, a lot of the problem actors come out after dark. So we have a second shift. We successfully push for that so that things will be safer. So that's some of the things that I'm working on as a legacy, and also to make life better for the citizens of Atlantic City, residents of the 3rd Ward.
He is Kaleem Shabazz. This is Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we want to talk to you about the upcoming elections.
Okay.